fabulous show.
Alaska.
I heartbeat Alaska.
It's heartbeat. Alaska.
Pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hear it from Sitka to Barrow. Gather around for Jeannie's show. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo. It's the Aleut, the Indian, and the Eskimo.
Welcome one, welcome all.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska. I'm Jeannie Green, your hostess. This week, we take you from one end of the state to another. We travel to Grayling, Alaska, Dillingham, and then to Sitka. We learn about secondhand smoke. It's a very important program. Thanks for joining us.
Well, first of all, I think smoking was just like sort of a second nature to us. We grew up around it.
Seemed like everybody smoked.
Smoking was allowed everywhere, When I went to the University of Alaska, smoking was allowed in our classrooms.
People smoked in the aircraft. I remember having to travel to boarding school, and the cabin was actually full of smoke that was just billowing above the seats.
Smoking used to be allowed here in the hospital, in the kitchen, in your hospital beds.
Patients could smoke in their rooms. Nobody gave a concern as to the bed next to you that this was non-smoker.
You had an ashtray right alongside your hospital bed. It was allowed everywhere.
Want you to tell me your name?
Ted.
Dad, are you a smoker?
No.
What do you think about it?
I think it's stupid.
I think it's disgusting. It stinks and it's just a bad habit. It just makes it hard for other people to breathe.
No, I don't smoke.
Why not?
Because it's bad for you and you won't be able to run anymore.
Your teeth get yellow and your clothes smell bad and no one really wants to be around you.
We've always known that being around a smoker is no fun, but now we're learning it can be deadly as well. The toxins exhaled by a cigarette smoker cause lung problems in infants, more pneumonia in children, and can even trigger a heart attack in an adult. Breathing secondhand smoke increases non-smokers' risk of getting lung cancer by 20 to 30%. Add to this the fact that over 40% of Alaska's native population smokes, and the need for change becomes clear. With the rising cost of healthcare these days and increased awareness of the detrimental effects of tobacco and secondhand smoke, attention is now being directed toward cleaning up the air everybody has to share.
Welcome to Grayling. Be smoke-free.
This is very recent, but in the Surgeon General's report, he said that secondhand smoke is a proven cause of lung cancer and heart disease in non-smoking adults, and is also a cause of SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, low birth weight, acute bronchitis, ear infections, asthma attacks in infants and in children, and of course it's responsible for thousands of deaths each year.
The Tanana Chiefs Conference, the traditional tribal consortium in interior Alaska, is one of the organizations working to get its region smoke-free. It's campaigning throughout the area it serves, increasing awareness of tobacco's deadly consequences, and promoting the creation of non-smoking zones in and around buildings people congregate in, reminding people that no amount of secondhand smoke is safe.
It's not all right that people smoke in entrances before you come in and out. It's the rights of the people that want to breathe fresh air.
These presentations, like the one in Grayling recently, are meant to inform and stir communities to action. These kinds of reforms cannot be instigated from outside, however. To be effective, change has to come from within the village.
If we're going to stop using tobacco, it's going to have to come from the villages. It's always been that way. Anytime we're going to do something within Tanana Chiefs Conference, anytime our people become empowered, it comes from the villages.
The villages, from my experience, need to be able to come together and claim ownership of the health issue, like secondhand smoke, smoking indoors. They need to be able to work as a tribe, as a city, and as a community to pass these ordinances. They need to recognize that it's their health concern, and it needs to come within the village and work out like that.
Grayling is well on its way to healthy air. Most people here know about secondhand smoke's danger, and many are making attempts to keep it away from non-smokers. The younger generation is even getting involved in tobacco awareness. One young lady recently wrote an article that spotlighted smoking's widespread use for her senior class essay assignment.
Are there a lot of young people who use tobacco here?
Yeah, and they started like a very young age as well. The youngest I've got was like 9 years old, maybe. Yeah.
And how much did they spend on tobacco?
Over $1,000 a year.
Tammy's paper reflects an unhealthy trend in Grayling. The community has noticed the problems cigarettes cause, however, and has begun instituting smoke-free policies.
Bushes. All the public buildings are smoke-free. The hall went smoke-free. There's a $50 fine if you're caught smoking in there. The city offices are smoke-free. Of course, the clinic is. The school, you have to be 500 feet or 50 feet away from the building before you can smoke. Although I have seen teachers smoking right around the corner. They smoke outside the entrance, which they could be a little further away because it comes back in. But actually, they're aware of secondhand smoke. Most people I know in town with children will smoke outside. You see people standing outside, they're all smoking their cigarettes. So there is a bit of awareness.
Secondhand smoke, I believe, affects people bad in a lot of ways. I know for myself it does. This is my lifeline right here. I carry this with me every day of my life ever since I've had my asthma attacks. I don't feel comfortable unless I have it because there's so many things that does set my asthma attacks off, and one of the biggest things is secondhand smoke.
In Dillingham, Alaska, the tribal council decided to ban smoking in public places. While this kind of policy is sure to raise protests, it's also something most people, even smokers, agree is best for the community.
I have 4 grandchildren. 2 of them have real severe allergies. And what drove the point home was the kids with allergies, my grandsons with allergies, cannot be around smoke. Consequently, I've limited my smoking around them. Plus, they give me such a hard time when I do light up. Even if we're outside and I'm 20 feet away, they're 5 and 7, and they give Grandpa a lot of static about smoking. But I respect their rights. I respect other people's rights. And at the tribal council, we made our buildings smoke-free. There was a lot of tribal council members that were pretty agitated by our decision. But whether you're a smoker or a non-smoker, I think you got to respect other people's rights. And With the studies that are coming out now, the harmful effects of secondhand smoke, it's clearly evident that there's got to be segregation between those that want to smoke and those that don't want to smoke.
Clean air policies like the one enacted in Dillingham are helpful in the immediate sense because they make buildings and public areas safe for everyone to be in. But measures like this also get people thinking on their own. Many eventually realize the law is there for a reason and begin to act more responsibly around their own families at home.
I found out that the secondhand smoke that was affecting my daughter was probably more harmful to her than it was to me, because when I smoked a cigarette, I had a filter on my cigarette, but she was inhaling raw smoke.
I see more than I've ever seen before, people actually making that concerted effort to go outside and smoke so that, you know, the elders or the youth or the children in their home aren't subjected to secondhand smoke. People just know now that that's not healthy for the rest of their family, and it's a personal choice and not a family choice.
I think anymore, people who smoke are real cognizant of other people's reaction or attitudes about it. So you look at who's next to you when you smoke, or when you light up, or where you are. And I thought it was always a personal annoyance to me that somebody would complain about it. But then, you know, now that I am a non-smoker and I'm in the presence of secondhand smoke, it really bothers me.
Gust Bartman was a boxer in his younger days and quit smoking for a while to pursue that passion. He was good, too, making it all the way to the national championships and meeting heavyweight champion Joe Louis. Nowadays, home in Dillingham, Gust remembers wisdom the elders would try to impart to him.
The older people used to say, the smoke really stinks. And I realized that as I was a smoker, I didn't have no respect to anybody. And I would think it was none of their business. But I realized it was their business.
My name is Doug Osbourne. This is my daughter Darby, and I live in Sitka and I work here as a health educator. And we're standing in front of Victoria's restaurant, and I got involved with clean indoor air, both because of my work as a health educator and also because of her and just living in Sitka. And about 3 years ago, we had just moved, and my wife Jamie was pregnant with this little one, and we sat down in this restaurant, which is located right behind me. We ordered our food, and as we were waiting for our food, we were sitting right next to the doors. We were waiting for our food. We had that smell of the thick aroma of smoke. And I just started working as a health educator and learning all these things about how it affects kids even more than adults, and learning about how there's no safe level of exposure. So all these thoughts are going through my mind as we're sitting here waiting for our food. The restaurant was completely packed. There's nowhere else to move. And the thing that was really impactful for me was that what that gentleman was doing was perfectly legal. I didn't have a legal leg to stand on. It was a smoke-free restaurant, true, but where he was smoking was affecting me and her and my wife in a really detrimental way. And that's where in my heart I got involved.
Sitka is an example of the grassroots effort in action and working well. Community leaders, both elected and volunteer, came together to enact a smoke-free policy for the city, not only within buildings, but in reasonable distance from entrances as well. It all started in 2003, when a member of the Alaska Native Sisterhood took her idea for a clean air plan of action to the annual ANS Grand Camp Convention. It culminated on November 18, 2005, when the Sitka Clean Indoor Air Law went into effect.
The original effort to spearhead the Clean Indoor Air, what is the Act now, was originally brought forward by one of our longtime Sitka ANS Camp 4 members, and her name is Pat Svetlak. And the amazing thing about that is that Pat was a smoker, and she still could see the devastating effects that smoking causes.
The Alaska Native Brotherhood Hall, home to activities for elders, adults, and children, was the first place to enact the policy. Before the no smoking rule, the A&B Hall was a tough place for non-smokers to be in.
The air purifiers just couldn't handle totally purifying the A&B Hall from all the effects of the smoke. And even the next day, we would have sisters and other people come into the hall, and they would just have an instant reaction to this smoke-filled building because the smoke would linger on the whole interior of the building, and their eyes would start watering, or they'd start coughing, or they would have instant negative reactions to that. And so you just knew everything was still smoky in here, and the walls would get yellow from the cigarette smoke. So after that stopped, the people that were having those reactions, one of our longtime ANS sisters, Jean Frank, said, I just don't have to worry about coming down here anymore. I just, don't have my eyes watering and coughing and feeling badly when I come down here anymore. So it was immediate that, the building started kind of detoxifying itself, and that was really nice.
Just a simple way to show them how to read and how to button.
The A&B Hall going smoke-free has been described as being like dropping a pebble in a pond. In a ripple effect, others took up the charge to clean up Sitka's air. People lobbied, advertised, persuaded, and argued. Battles raged between those who wanted Sitka completely smoke-free and those that saw the possibility of an anti-smoking law as counterintuitive to their freedom. It's a perceived rights issue. One side wants to light up when they want to and sees those health advocates as infringing on their freedom. The other side wants the right to go about their daily business without having to breathe a substance that somebody else is choosing to generate around themselves.
And I think that it's reasonable that people should be able to get in and out of any public building anytime without having to pass through somebody else's secondhand smoke.
While you are not going to take smoking away from people that smoke, you certainly should give it your all to at least take it away from people that don't smoke. And before, they didn't have a choice. There was no choice involved there.
We really, we weren't anti-business, we weren't anti-smoker. We're just saying that, people should be respectful about what they do and really take care of one another, take care of our fellow man, by, stepping away from, someone when you're smoking, and not smoking indoors around other people.
The Southeast Alaska Regional Health Corporation decided to go ahead and ban smoking on its campus right around this time.
Search really led the way, for, in Sitka, in my opinion, when Sitka was in the battle for a clean indoor air ordinance here to protect all of Sitka's workers from the dangerous effects of secondhand smoke. Search really led the way by going smoke-free on community health campus and then the Search campus. That sent a strong message to the community.
More businesses and private clubs followed that lead Until today, almost all places of public congregation in Sitka are smoke-free.
Once we focused on the issue, even though the city had yet to take any action, it was clear to us that we had to take action on our own. There really wasn't a choice. And once we got to that point, then we went ahead and made the decision. We knew that it was possible in the future the city would impose this anyway, but you know, we had to do what was right by our employees in particular, and once we got to that point, it was very easy to make that decision.
The Hiratska Corporation was one of the first entities in Sitka to embrace the smoke-free mindset. It banned smoking in its Westmark Hiratska Hotel, knowing that smoke anywhere in a building floats around.
Even though you may have smoking and non-smoking sections of your restaurant or lounge, it's not really possible to entirely segregate the smoke-free area from the smoking area. Smoke tends to move around, and so for those customers who did not smoke, you know, it was for their safety as well.
I think Sitka as a community overall has really accepted this. And you know, we're a small enough community that we all know one another and that we all don't want to harm one another. And once the education was out there, Sitka really stood up and said, hey, we need to make the choice to go smoke-free.
These policies aren't only for adults and the weakened lungs of old age, but also for the next generation of Alaskans. No matter how disinterested the youth of today may seem, the fact remains that they look to adults for guidance. On a basic level, they know that the blueprint of life is in their elders, and that's what they'll end up emulating.
A person can come into a work office and there would be people freely smoking there. And then the young generation seeing that, and young eyes and young ears, for some reason, when they see stuff, they feel like it's proper to do because the older people are doing that.
It's important for us as adults, as leaders in our community, to make sure that we set examples and that we're role models and help our youth decide not to choose tobacco for their future. And by setting ordinances or setting examples, it's a very, very good start.
Ordinances and examples are only as effective as long as they're practiced. Until all the villages of Alaska adopt these measures, dedicated people around the state will continue to spread the word about smoking's harm, keeping smoke away from non-smokers. These new laws present a challenge for smokers, but they serve a good purpose. Smokers just gotta get used to it.
You know, you got to recognize the rights of other people, and I don't want to sound like I'm a hypocrite down here or anything like that, but because I am a smoker, but I've got to recognize as a smoker, it's my choice to smoke or not, and smoke does affect other people, and whether it's your grandchildren or your friends or strangers, and I think that having smoke-free environments is the way to go.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us for Heartbeat Alaska. Thank you, everyone at Sitka, Dillingham, and Grayling for your help on this very important story. God bless every single one of you, and thank you, Tanana Chiefs Conference. We'll see you again next week.